Thank you all. Welcome back. Council, are we ready with the next witness? If we are, we can proceed, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we're ready with the next witness. May I ask the usher to lead him in, please?
I, Alhagie Darboe, do swear that I will speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Darboe. Welcome to the TRRC. As you know, we've already met. My name is Esa Mbaifal, and I would lead you in evidence on behalf of the commissioners. Do you understand?
Yes.
You are asked to come and testify about student union activities in the Gambia in the 2000 period, including the events of April 10 and 11, the year 2000, and in the immediate aftermath. And we expect you to speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You understand?
Yes.
Good. Are you now ready to give your testimony?
Yes.
This would be translated in the local languages for the audience in the hall. So you should allow for 3 seconds between our speeches so that our speeches would not overlap, and also that so that we do not interfere with the interpretation. You understand?
Yes.
Good. So what are your full names, please?
Alhagie Darboe.
And what is your date of birth?
15 December 1970.
Where were you born?
Kandungu village in the Fonyi Bintankana district of West Coast region.
Could you speak a little bit slowly, please? If I didn't have the statement in front of me, I would not know some of the villages you just mentioned. You said Kandonku village, correct?
Yes.
In Fonyi Bintang Karanai district.
Exactly.
What a name. Really nice. The West Coast region of the Gambia.
Yes.
And you currently reside in Birkama Daru Hairu.
Exactly.
What does Daru Hairu mean?
It's a word of Kabilo in Birkama.
Okay, wonderful. So give us a brief description, just in summary, of your educational background.
I attended Spano Primary School 1977 to 83. Then Birkama Junior from 1983 to 87.
You mean Birkama Junior Secondary School?
Exactly, yeah. And
Proceed,
then
please.
Gambia High School 88 to 95 for both A and A level.
That is for both O and A levels.
Exactly.
And what did you do upon finishing A levels?
Well, partly after finishing O level, I taught briefly as an unqualified teacher at St. Teresa's. Then From there, I pick up appointment with the then Provisional Independent Electoral Commission, PIC, and serve as the Senior Registration Officer and Assistant Returning Officer.
Assistant returning officer.
Returning Officer. During the registration is Senior Registration Officer, and after registration, Assistant Returning Officer.
Good. And did you go back to teaching?
Yeah, after the contract, almost about 9 months or 10 months, I went back to teaching field and I served as unqualified teacher at Birkama Bar Upper Basic School, I think 1997 to 98.
And Birkama Bar would be in CRR?
CRR, yes.
And did you pursue further education after A-levels?
After the 1 year that I served as unqualified teacher at Birkama Bar, I came to Gambia College, then where I pursue the higher teacher certificates from 1998 to 2000.
You've been involved in a lot of activities in your community, both for community development, development of youth, and development of sports. Could you talk briefly about that, please?
At the community level, I've been involved in the Village Development Committee of Darboe, and for about 5 years, I've been a member of that committee. And
from which year?
Precisely, that will be from 1995 to 1997, if I got the years right. And I also serve, after being a member, I also serve as chairman of the BDC. I think that will be from 2001 precisely up to about 2005.
Okay, good. And how about sporting activities?
Sports, that has been my passion.
Do you play football?
I used to play, but for a short while because of illness, and I turned from being active player to sport administrator.
Great, wonderful. Tell us the positions you have held in sporting organizations during this period.
I founded the football club or a co-founder to the football club in my area. That is the Darboe Football Club. Then from there, I joined Birkama Youth and Sport Association. Then it was called. I served as the Assistant Secretary General. Then along the way, I became the Secretary General. I think from 2002 to about 2003, I was Assistant Secretary General. Then from there, I became the Secretary General from about 2000, I think about 2005. I was Secretary General up to 2008. Then I left the executive. I was voted out at one point, then came back around 2011 precisely, or 12 if I'm not right. So I served again as Secretary General until 2015.
But apart from BISA itself?
Yes, apart from BISA, in the school sports, I was the Assistant Secretary General for the Gambia Secondary School Sports Association from 2004 to about 2008. Then from there, I became the Secretary General up to the time when I got into politics. I think that was around 2016. I was the Secretary General of the Gambia Secondary School Sports Association and the national coordinator of that association. At the same time, being the Secretary General, I was a member of the Gambian National Olympic Committee, the General Assembly of the Gambian National Olympic Committee, and being the Secretary General to BAISA, I was also Secretary to our football team called the Brikama United Football Club, which I seized that cap to represent that club in the Gambia Football Association, then now called the Gambia Football Federation.
Good. And that brought you into a lot of contact with youths, and you participated in a number of youth organizations, correct?
Very right.
Could you give us a brief itinerary of that?
The youth organizations, let me say still at sports level, while serving as the Secretary General or Assistant Secretary General for BAISA and secondary school, I was also chairperson of Fonyi Bintang Kranai District Sports Committee, which I did for about 2 years. And then after that, I still served that district as their youth chairperson for 4 years. And during those periods, I used to be part of the conference delegates for West Coast, for NACOF, the Biennial National Youth Conference and Festival for 2004, 2006, concurrently. During those periods, I used those portfolios to interact and engage with the youth folks, not only in West Coast, but the Gambia at large.
And in fact, you are also a NACONF delegate for UDP in 2015?
Yeah, I retired, that was after 2006, in active youths. But in 2015, I think that was the first time when the National Youth Council decided to invite political party reps to NACONF conference. And being a member of United Democratic Party, I was delegated by the party to represent the party at that conference in Genoa, LRR. That was in 2015.
So you, not only that, you also participated in IOGT activities, correct?
At the school level in Botrop, I was the coordinator of the Botrop branch, IOGT, that's the International Organization for Good Templars. And then, because my branch was the most active, I think that was carrying the bulk of the activities of IOGT in the Gambia. And eventually, I was elected as the National Secretary General of IOGT.
And you entered politics in 2012.
Yeah,
correct?
it came, by the way, in 2012, because I was an active member of the VDC, and when I was the chairperson of my VDC, I represent my ward or my kabilo at the Ward Development Committee according to the Local Government Act. And there I serve as the secretary to the Ward Development Committee, even though I was opposition. Then my participation in that committee, the community approached me in 2012 to contest for the councillorship as an independent candidate, which I did. Unfortunately, I could not make it.
I think you've contested the most elections in Gambia, considering the secretarial positions to which you were elected. You have a whole lot of them. I wouldn't venture to count. There are just too many. But that speaks to the experience you have. And in 2015, what happened? 2016?
2015, I think, was a turning point. For me, that's so my exit in sports. I think that NACOF, which I attended in Genoa, I was privileged to contribute to a debate surrounding what they call the Vision 2016. And I gave a remark that the Vision 2016 is achievable if the methodology of actualization of the concept is changed from Jambianization to Gambianization. I think that took a front page, newspaper front page, that did not go down well with the sport fraternity. When I returned, a kind of coup d'etat was lodged against my committee in Brikama. There was constitutional coup d'etat, and they connived with the National Sport Council and demanded that our committee resigned when our election was just 3 months due. We insisted, we embattled for about 3 months. Eventually, with the involvement of government officials, being security, National Sport Council, the ministry, we are forced to leave the office, and another executive was elected.
But isn't it a rule in FIFA that national governments should not involve in the politics of football?
Yeah, FIFA governs football, but not sports in general.
I agree.
And Brikama Sport Association is under the purview of the District Sports Committee of Combo Central, and then West Coast Region Sports Committee, and then along that ladder to National Sport Council. That means directly we are under the National Sport Council. So National Sport Council backed that move that overthrew us from office. That's why my exit from sports.
Simply because you made a statement that we should move away from Germanization to Gambianization.
Certainly.
Well, it had some good effect in that you went into politics, full-time politics, soon thereafter.
That is the conclusion I made. I said, I think in order to regulate institutions in the Gambia, we must uproot what is the root cause of all this. To me, the problem about the Gambia is Jammeh. Unless and until we get that out, no institution in this country will be regulated.
You joined the UDP, didn't you?
Well, I've been in UDP, but not active politician. It was at that time then I decided now that I think I have a role to play in order to effect change politically. Then to do that, I must fully participate. I will not be a passive politician, but an active politician. I got in the UDP, vying for positions at the district level, became the district secretary general and coordinator for West Coast. Eventually, in 2016, I contested at the National Congress in Basse, where I was elected the Deputy Senior Administrative Secretary. But before that, I drafted what is called the Structural Revision and Revitalization Program of the UDP Youth Wing, which I requested for the entire revision of the Constitution of the UDP.
Yes, but that is taking us a little further away from the whole essence of your testimony. It is sufficient to just establish the positions you have held so that we can have a better idea who you are as a person. So let's say that you became a member of the coalition executive planning committee or the planning and finance committee, is that right?
Yeah, that is when the opposition parties came together to form a coalition, they call it 2016.
Good.
I represented UDP and became an executive member. And then the subcommittee, the planning and finance, I chaired that committee.
In 2017, you contested for parliamentary elections, and you are the National Assembly member for Birkama North, correct?
Exactly.
And you are also a member of the Pan-African Parliament.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. And during your career, you won some awards. Could you tell us about those?
In 2006, I won the regional award as the most outstanding teacher in the West Coast at the upper basic sector. And in the same year, I also won the most outstanding teacher nationally, the national award for the upper basic sector for the Gambia Teachers Union.
Wonderful. So now let's take you back to your student days. In 1999, there was a GAMSU election in August. Tell us about it.
The Fakuru Silla, that is Mohamed Silla, the then executive president, term ended and they convened Congress at the Gambia College. There, I was lucky to be elected as the vice president of the Gambia Student Union.
And could you tell us who was in the executive at the time? The new executive that was elected during this Congress?
The new executive that was also in office comprised President Omar Diouf, Vice President Alhagie Darboe, Secretary General Sinab J, Information Secretary Alhaji Kamara, Treasurer Alassane Cisse, Public Relations Officer Usman Ba, External Relations Officer Babukar Jonga, Auditor Mohamed Sanusi Drame, Assistant Auditor Yankuba Dafe, Secretary to the Advisory Board, the lead Babukar An, and Assistant Secretary to Advisory Board, Mahmoud Njai. We also have what we call the ex-officio members. The then president of the UEP, University Extension Program, Ali Darboe, and the then president of the Gambia College Students Sub-Union, Ali Khan, and the president of GTTI Student Union, who also doubled as the Assistant Secretary General. That is Daniel B. Davis. Then we had two co-opted members, Molo Jallo and Demba Khan. The regional coordinators, Banjul Babukar Seidi, KM for Kanifi Municipality, Ibrahim Ojallo, West Coast, Mati Ture, NBR, Musa Jobate, CRR, Malik Jallo, and URR, and Suman Sano. I could not remember the coordinator for LRR. I think soon after the election, she was no longer active. That's why I could not recall the name of the coordinator for LRR.
You mentioned a Mr. Jallo for KMC, for Kanifing Municipality Coordinator. What's his full name again?
Ibrahim O. Jallo.
So in your statement, we have Usman Jallo. So we can correct that and say Ibrahim O. Jallo.
Yes, I asked this one to correct it. I don't know whether he has given you the corrected one, but the one corrected.
I am looking at the uncorrected one.
Okay, it's corrected as Ibrahim O. Jallo.
Thank you very much. And can you tell us what were the functions of the executive of GAMSU?
The executive, we have what is called the central executive that comprise the elected officials from president right down to assistant coordinator that is in charge of the day-to-day administration of the union and running of the union. And then the general executive, that is the entire membership of the executive, including the co-opted or the ex officio and the coordinators. They work with the national executive in time to implement the activities of the executive.
But what was the purpose of GAMSU? What were its main objectives?
Gambia is a union comprised all the students in the tertiary institution, senior secondary schools, and then the upper basic schools.
Primary schools not included?
Primary schools are not included. The union pursue and stand for the welfare of the students.
Mr. Darboe, this is not a memory test. You have your statement with you. You can refer to it if necessary.
Okay, noted.
Proceed, please.
The welfare of the students, and when students have matters regarding their education, it is the union that look into those matters to address them. GAMSU also solicits sponsorship for needy and deserving students. When there are problems in schools, the ministry or the school authorities used to seek the support of GAMSU to address those problems, to look for amicable solutions. We organize student activities. For example, at that time, in celebrating the International Student Day, we organized what we call Hands for Student Art Exhibition. The project that I personally launched in order to promote art education in schools and in order to make available an opportunity for students to showcase their talents in arts and for them to tap income through that. These are some of the activities that we used to do, and then we also conduct sensitization program for schools, leadership trainings, among others.
In the year 2000, shortly after you were elected to the executive, two important events occurred in the Gambia which led to serious consequences for students in this country. Can you tell us about those two activities, those two incidents?
That was in April 2000.
In March 2000.
Precisely, I started March 2000, almost 3 months in office. The two incidents were, one, the alleged murder of a student from Foster Senior Secondary School in the name of Ibrahim Abadi, and then the alleged rape of a student from Brikamaba Upper Basic School in the name of Pinta Mane.
In fact, just a moment. I think the Bintamane issue occurred almost at the same time with the Ibrahim Abari issue, just 2 days apart.
Yes.
Tell us about the Ibrahim Abari issue and how you came to know about it.
Ibrahim Abari, it was on the 10th of March In the morning when I got the news that a student of the said school, that's the first senior secondary school, was beaten and eventually that led to his untimely death.
In your statement, the previous one, it says the 9th. Are you correcting the date to the 10th?
Yeah, it was on the 9th, not 10th rather.
The 9th, okay.
Yeah.
Proceed, please.
Then upon hearing that news, I decided, because at that time, the President, Mr. Omar Diouf, was up country with some students on tour, sensitizing the students about the Gamsu Trust Fund that we initiated. Being the leader on the ground, I decided to go to the police to inquire about that news. I did confirm from the SO at Brikama police station, yes, they had saw the news, but investigation was at the preliminary stage. They could not give me actually what happened, but they've opened an investigation and it was at the preliminary stage. Then there, I also had the looming demonstration at the said school. I decided to go to the school. It was not very far from the station. Upon arrival at the school, that is the Foster Senior Secondary School, but the senior secondary school was located at the premises of the Brikama Technical Training Center. That is the two classrooms, the grade 10 classrooms were operating at the Technical Training Center, just beside the market. Upon arrival, I met a group of students about to leave the school premises in an attempt to demonstrate outside against the alleged death of Ibrahim. With the assistance of some of the teachers, we succeeded in stopping them until they got back to their classrooms. I also appealed to the head teacher if I could address them to stay calm, that the matter would be investigated by the police according to them, which I did so successfully. From there, I also heard that the body was taken to RVTH for post-mortem. I decided to go there. I joined the family members at RVTH. My intention was to witness the post-mortem, but it was put to me that that was restricted only to family members. Then the family members who were allowed to witness the post-mortem was the uncle of the late Ibrahim Abadi, Sekubari, and also a brother, Sheba. I did not wait to witness the post-mortem because I was not allowed. I decided to come back to Brikama, not comfortable with the situation on the ground. Then upon arrival, I went to the other site. That is where the two classrooms were operating, the new site at Jamisa. And I met with the principal, and then the principal gathered the students. I addressed them, appealed to them to remain calm.
This school, was it operating from 3 different sites?
2 sites.
How many sites?
2 sites.
2 sites.
One around the market.
That is the Brikama Technical Training Center.
That's what housed the grade 10 classrooms for the senior secondary school.
And then you went to
the
this
new site where you have the grade 11 and grade 12.
And the parent school is located where?
The parent school is where you have the technical training center.
Oh, okay.
That's where you have the grade 10.
Okay.
And the new site where you have the grade 11 and grade 12.
Okay. All right. Proceed, please.
Then after that, I went back to the college. That was all that I did for that day. That is on the 9th.
And what happened in the subsequent days?
Subsequent days, I think on the 13th, I was among the group of students, leaders, who went to the police to inquire about the case, and then also saw our concern and the need for action to be taken. At the police station, we were told that they've opened investigation, and cautionary form was given to us if we could come in to facilitate the investigation. We took the form to the school. We interrogated some teachers, precisely 3 of them, and a student. Then later we proceeded to the family house and interrogated the father.
Who did the interrogation?
With the student leaders.
So it was the student leaders who took the statements of these witnesses?
Well, we were given the forms, and we were trying to gather information on our side. On that basis, the police gave us the form, and then that was a cautionary statement form. Whatever information we got from them, we took that to be relevant information as far as statement is concerned.
Was it cautionary statement or voluntary statements?
The form I could remember was a cautionary statement.
It's curious that you were given cautionary statement forms, because that would suggest that the person may have been suspected of having committed offense. If my memory serves me well, that's the process here. Cautionary statement for a person who is to be cautioned when making the statement, and you caution the person who is suspected of having committed crimes. But in any case, that is what you were given, cautionary statement forms.
That's my belief. I could not ascertain clearly whether it was cautionary or voluntarily. But that's my belief that it was that. But if it could be the other way around, it's not yet.
So the police ceded the responsibility of taking the statements to you. Is that what happened?
Well, we saw that they gave us the forms, and we've not seen them being involved in our presence in trying to obtain statements from the school authorities or from the family.
And how did the student leadership perceive this step by the police? The step I'm referring to is when the police decided to cede the responsibility of taking the witness statements to the student leadership to go around, look for witnesses, and get those witnesses to write statements. How was that perceived by the student leadership?
That we did not receive that well, because we saw that the police were not showing that commitment to dig into the circumstance surrounding the death of Ibrahim at the very beginning. We felt disappointed.
And did you, in fact, take the statements?
So we did not take the statement. We only recorded the interview that we took, but we went with the forms.
Could you tell us who you interviewed?
The first person that we interviewed was the head teacher of the school, I think Mr. Ajao, who was in charge of that section of the school.
Do you recollect what he told you?
Yes, according to Mr. Ajao.
Just in very brief terms, huh? Just in brief.
According to Mr. Ajao, the lady Ibrahim had a problem with a teacher who believed to be a commerce teacher over sitting arrangement. And then that resulted to a fight between the two. Eventually, he was sent home. The next day, he returned. And then he was supposed to suspend him, fearing that he may overreact when issued with suspension later. He decided to seek the assistance of the officials of the fire service station just nearby the school for them to witness him issuing the suspension letter for Ibrahim to leave. The fire service provided an officer who came while Ibrahim was given the suspension letter. And then he did not hear anything until the next day that he had died.
And who else did you interview?
The next person to be interviewed was the class teacher of the boy that is late Ibrahim, who also narrated a similar story with that of the head teacher, Mr. Ajao.
And did you interview any friends or colleagues of the late Ibrahim?
One Alhagie, a classmate of Ibrahim, I think they used to sit at the same desk. Also, his evidence corroborated with that of the class teacher, or the head teacher, that the problem emanated from sitting arrangement, resulting to a fight, and then eventually Ibrahim was asked or sent home that day. The next day when he reappeared, he was in the class. Then Mr. Ajao came with a fire service officer, and then they escorted Ibrahim out, and he did not see Ibrahim the rest of the day. In the evening, he decided to pay a visit to his house and found that he was crying of pain. And he told him that when he was taken to the PIU station at Bikama, he was tortured and his hairs were shaved and water was poured on his head. He stayed with him for a while, then eventually left home. The next day he heard that it passed away.
How about any family member of Ibrahim?
That is the father, Mr. Aliu Bari. Aliu narrated that he was at the market where he used to sell at Bikama market. Ibrahim appeared with a fire service officer, and the fire service told him that his son had a problem with the school authorities, that he was unruly, and the man felt disappointed and appealed to the fire service officer if he could accompany him back to the school so that he can plead to the school authorities. They did, and they went back to the school, and he appealed to the head teacher and apologized to him on behalf of Ibrahim. The head teacher accepted the apology and told him that Ibrahim should resume after the Tobaski break. He said in the evening when he went home, he found Ibrahim was complaining of pain. He also narrated how he was subjected to torture at the fire service station. In the morning, he decided to go to the market, but he was called back that the situation of Ibrahim was worsening. On his way, he met them in a taxi going to the health center. At the health center, he was subjected to tests, and the doctor finally pronounced that he had died.
Were you alone when these interviews were conducted?
No, I was not alone. There were some student leaders from the college.
Who were they?
Lamin Job was there, and Molo Jallo was also there.
These interviews were conducted on the 13th March 2000, correct?
Yes.
Were there any demonstrations at the police station or at the fire service by the students from Birkama before this date?
No.
So kindly tell us, what did you do with those statements?
Those statements, we did not, as I said, we did not write the statement. We interviewed them and then took records of the evidence that we got them. And these were the facts that we brief our colleagues, that is the executive members, to give them the situational report as what actually transpired. Contrary to some information that was going around that Ibrahim was tortured and given cement to eat and all that. So those were the situational report that we gave to the executive.
Did the witnesses you spoke to sign statements? Did they sign any statements?
They did.
And those statements were written by you?
Yes, after recording, then we transferred.
And what did you do with those written statements?
These were with us until when we had the demonstration, but the police never took them from us.
So you never surrendered them to the police?
Exactly.
And tell us about the Bintamane incident.
Bintamane, as I said, was a student at Brikamaba Upper Basic School. She was an athlete who came with a school to take part in the inter-school annual athletic championships. And one fine evening, I think it was on the 11th, according to her, she was allegedly raped by a PIU officer around the Independence Stadium.
Were you by any chance involved in any matters surrounding the investigation of that alleged rape?
No, it was Omar Juf, my president, who was involved in that, while I was in that of Ibrahim at Birkama N.
How did you come to learn about this alleged rape of Bintamane?
Just like the news of Ibrahim, this also was like a wildfire, that another student had been victimized, raped by the PIU officials at the Independent Stadium. I was informed by some executive members about that incident.
Did GAMSU as an organization take up these two issues?
It took the two issues very seriously, because we saw the students were very much concerned. And when we brief on both cases, that is the alleged murder of Ibrahim and rape of Ibrahim, we wrote what we call our demand letters to show our concern to the authorities.
And to whom were these demand letters addressed?
It was sent to the Inspector General of Police, copied to the Secretary General Office of the President, and to the PS, Department of State for Education.
How about the Interior?
Yes, PS Interior as well.
Do you recall what was stated in those letters?
That is precisely for them to identify the culprit who allegedly raped Ibrahim and then
Allegedly?
raped Ibrahim and then bring him to
Who
book.
allegedly?
Rape Bintamane rather, and then bring him to a book. And likewise that of the culprits who were involved in the torture of Ibrahim to be also identified and then brought to book. Then the officials at the Birkama Fire Station be transferred, because we feel if they are not transferred, continue to be there, that may seem provocative to the school students around that area who might have known them. And then we gave an ultimatum that is on the 7th for the authorities to act.
And in between the date of those letters and the 7th, did the Gamsu authorities receive any feedback from government?
Not at all.
And as a result of the lack of feedback from government, did you do anything?
Well, on the 22nd, I think this is what sparked. I think there was a newspaper report that the autopsy report revealed that Ibrahim died of natural cause.
But before the autopsy report came out on the 22nd, did the Gamsu executive hold a meeting in which the response or lack thereof by the government was discussed?
Yes, Gamsu held a meeting, I believe, was on the 20th, and so concerned that the authorities were not showing that commitment to our request, and then the matters at hand, and we decided to call a press conference, try to show that concern to the authorities in a way of press briefing.
Was the press briefing held before you received news of the autopsy report, or was it held afterwards?
That was before. We did not actually receive the autopsy report. It was on the newspaper report that we saw on the 22nd.
The question is, did you hold the press conference or press briefing before you received information about the autopsy?
The press briefing was held on the 24th.
On the 24th?
Yes.
So that is after?
After.
All right. So tell us about the autopsy report that you received and what happened as a result.
We did not get the copy of the autopsy report, just the newspaper caption that the autopsy report revealed that Ibrahim had died of natural causes. I think this sparked the Gambia College on the 22nd decided that they should go to the commissioner's office to show their concern and grievance surrounding the death of Ibrahim. At the same time also to pay condolences to the bereaved family and to give the charity.
At what stage did you come to be involved with this activity?
This happened when we resumed from the Tobaski feast break. I came to the college in the morning. Then I heard the rumor that there will be no class that day. The students are going to march to the commissioner's office, as I indicated. Then upon hearing that, I decided to go to the secretariat to inquire about the rumor. I found some executive members, including the president, and I was adequately informed. Yes, there is such a plan. And I was also briefed about the arrangement. That is, the students will march off the highway while the leaders will be along the highway, and some will be in front, others will be behind.
Proceed, please.
Others will be behind. I tried to talk to them if we can still continue with the meeting, but unfortunately I found that some of the executive members had already left, and that the students were also informed about the plan to have that march to the commissioner's office. I put that to my president, that is Omar Diouf, who was not at the Gambia College at that time. Then he told me to cooperate with them, and that we make sure we accompany the student as planned to avoid any problem. They marched happened from the Gambia College right down to the commissioner's office as planned without any problem. At the commissioner's office, the students were received by the commissioner then of West Coast or Western Region as it used to be called, and then the president of the Gambia College expressed the concern to the commissioner regarding the circumstances surrounding the death of Ibrahim and the need for the authorities to act.
For you as student leaders, you did not see the autopsy report itself. You based your action mainly on the captions or the headlines on the newspapers, correct?
It was the newspaper that sparked, yes.
Didn't you think that it was worth the while or necessary that you see the autopsy report itself in order to be able to draw your own conclusions instead of ceding that responsibility or that step to the newspapers, which could be misleading?
Yes, that was my position. That's why I said I tried if we could continue the meeting, but unfortunately it was decided and then the students were informed.
Okay, but that wasn't to happen. You decided to go, you decided to accept what was contained in the autopsy report, and on the basis of that, they decided to go on a demonstration.
To the commissioner's office,
Yes.
so the concern to the commissioner.
All right, proceed, please.
Then from the commissioner's office, the commissioner also responded and assured that action will be taken. The student proceeded to the family house at Bikama, and we were received by the father and some family members.
How large was this student group?
Well, I could not estimate the size, but it could be more than 100. It's more than 100 students.
Okay. And proceed, please.
We are received by the father and some family members. We pay our condolences to the family and share the sympathy with them. We also give the charity that was collected by the students in the college and prayed for the soul of Ibrahim to rest in eternal peace. Then we decided to go back to the college. This time round, those who were leading those who were in front could not control the student to go back the route that we have taken. And they took the route that led past the market. Some of us who used to be behind, we came up to where in Bikama called the FMB, the community radio station, and saw them taking that route. Before we could get to around the fire service, then we saw stoning started to the direction of the fire service station. There was that stoning, and we tried until we were able to stop, but the stoning resulted to smashing windscreen of the fire ambulance. Before the PIU officials were sent, and then eventually we were able to stop the stoning, and then we escorted the students back to the college.
Did you have any encounter with the PIU personnel at that stage?
Yeah, around the market, I think I was spotted as one of these leaders, and there was that attempt to arrest me, but I advised them not to do so because it could spark commotion and pandemonium around the market that could result to destruction of property around the market. I think Landing Baji called Tatim Baji overheard that, and he concurred with me and told them they should not do so. Big J finally agreed. I was not arrested. I stayed behind and ensured that all the students left the market area and went back to the college. Upon arrival at the college, I found a lot of security officials at the college. And I was also told that there was a meeting going on at the principal's office with some security heads. But I came, the meeting was almost getting to an end.
Who did you find in that meeting?
I think the IGP was there. The IGP was there, and then the commissioner in charge of West Coast region was also among the security officials.
Yes. And did you get to hear any part of the discussions that happened during that meeting?
Well, yes, they said the security officials condemned the action of the students and they warned against such. But on the side of the students were also demanding that justice needs to be done.
And who are the officials who participated in this meeting? Do you recall?
That's what I said. On the side of security, I could recall the IGP and then the commissioner in charge of West Coast, the police commissioner.
How about the regional education officers?
Regional education POES was also there.
And the chief?
Head chief
Yes.
of Combo Central.
Yes. And who do you recall their names?
Yeah, precisely, yes.
Could you tell us, please?
Yeah, these are the ones I can recall.
Their names, I want to say.
The names?
The names of these individuals.
The IGP at that time, I believe, was Rest King.
Mm-hmm.
And the commissioner for West Coast, I could not recall the name of that person.
Would it be Keba Sise?
Keba was the divisional commissioner. This one is the police commissioner.
Okay. But was Keba present?
I could not recall the presence of Keba.
And who else?
The head chief of Combo Central, Bakari Dembo Santamboya.
Yes. And who else?
The principal of the Gambia College.
All right. So after this meeting, what else happened?
That meeting happened on the 22nd. Then on the 23rd, in order to diffuse the tension in Bikama and surrounding, we decided to go to schools, to talk to the students, to stay calm, that there is no planned demonstration, because that was what was looming, that there will be demonstration. So we did that the whole of the 23rd in schools between Bikama and surrounding.
Whose decision was it to?
That is the leadership of students.
And after that, did you hold any activities on the next day?
Yes, 24th. The security heads, precisely I will say the Interior Minister or Secretary of State, then it used to be called, the IGP and his deputy, paid a visit to the college, and an emergency meeting was convened at the Gambia College.
Tell us about what was discussed during that meeting.
Well, we did not find that meeting to be a way of interacting, dialogue meeting precisely, but rather a threatening position that they have taken, that authorities would not take any such from the students, and whoever acted in such a manner again will be dealt with. But as student leaders, we also took our stand that we are determined to see that justice in this case is done.
The statements of the authorities, did it appear to you as a declaration of policy as to how the state intended to deal with unauthorized student activity such as demonstrations?
That's my belief.
In a sense, can you tell us what that statement of policy included?
Well, that would tell me that the authorities are not trying to comply to see that justice is done, but rather try to shy away in the name of trying to see that the peace prevails or security of the country would not be compromised. That's our belief.
And what did you understand those statements to mean? But first, who made those statements? That the security of this country would not be compromised.
The SOS Interior and the Inspector General of Police.
You mean two individuals?
Both of them spoke there.
And does it mean that both of them said the same thing?
Yeah, they repeated.
Who initially said it?
The SOS was the leader.
What was his name?
He was Usman Baji.
What did he say precisely?
Precisely that the security of the country will not be compromised, and any student who demonstrate will be dealt with accordingly.
How about the IGP?
He also echoed similar statement.
Is he the same person you named previously as Rex King?
Yes.
What did the students understand the SOS and the IGP to mean when they said that the security of this country would not be compromised, any student who demonstrated would be dealt with? What did you understand that to mean?
Very, very threatening.
That is the effect.
Yes.
You were telling us that the effect was threatening.
Yes.
But what did you understand him to mean?
That is, they are not going to show interest in trying to pursue that justice is done, but rather whoever wants to pursue with that will be confronted.
And did you leave that meeting happy with the outcome?
We are totally disappointed.
Did you do anything as a result of the outcome of that meeting?
Yes, as planned, we went ahead with the press conference and expressed our disappointment and frustration in totality surrounding the two cases.
And where was that meeting held?
I believe Canopy Youth Center.
And that press conference, what did you say in the press conference?
We briefed the public through the press about the circumstances surrounding the death of Ibrahim and the rape of Bintamani, and our frustration and disappointment regarding the commitment of the authorities towards our requests. And we emphasized and appealed for them to look into our demands and act accordingly. It was a kind of gentle reminder to them.
A crisis was in the looming. A crisis was in the making.
Certainly.
You saw from your meetings with the authorities, did you see any inclination on the part of the government to pursue those two cases?
We could not see any sign of the interest of the government, but we still, through that press conference, we still call for room for dialogue.
Did you say anything to the students during that press conference?
As usual, we always appeal to the student to remain calm, as we are confident that justice will be done.
Were there any subsequent meetings to this meeting with the SOS, IGP, and others at the college? Was there any subsequent meeting?
Yeah, this time I think it was not at the college.
The meeting with the IGP and the SOS and the college principal on the 24th, was there a subsequent meeting?
That was the one I narrated. I think it was after that meeting that we went for the press conference in the evening.
Yes, but after that meeting, was there a subsequent meeting?
There was one. At this time around, I said it was not at the college, but at the police headquarters.
Yes, tell us about it. When do you recall the date this meeting took place?
I could not recall the actual date of that meeting.
Could you situate it with another event?
It was after the press conference, but I could recall vividly that it happened the day when the head of state, the president of the republic, was supposed to travel to Cuba.
Who was it at the time?
His Excellency President Yahya Jammeh.
Good.
To Havana.
To what?
To Havana, Cuba.
To Havana, Cuba. Good. And who was in attendance at that meeting?
The then Inspector General of Police and his deputy, and the...
We knew, you told us earlier that the IGP at the time was Mr. Rex King. Who
Yes.
was the deputy?
Sankumbaji.
And who else was present?
The chief fire officer, I could not recall his name, but the chief fire officer was present.
And who else?
The crime management coordinator, Landin Baji, alias Tatin Baji, and some other senior police officers who I could not recall their names.
And on the part of the student union leadership, who was present?
The president himself was present, and my humble self.
That would be Omar Diouf and Alhagie Darboe?
Alhagie Darboe, and then I believe Alhaji Kamara was there, and Aliu Khan, precisely.
Tell us about the meeting. What happened during that meeting?
The meeting was also another disappointing meeting, in the sense that the position of those security heads remained very negative towards our request. To a point, the chief fire officer had this to say: what is Gamsu? What can Gamsu do? Can Gamsu make a demand? Can Gamsu tell them what to do? This was seen to us as very provocative. We did not expect such comments from security chief of that caliber when we are in a crisis management situation. The Inspector General of Police also did not help the situation. At that point, in fact, he promptly ended the meeting when there was no breakthrough.
What did the IGP say, if you can recall?
I could not recall very well, but he too was not cooperative regarding in trying to find out an amicable solution to the problem. But all that they were trying to say is that Gansu or the students, if they act, they are going to be dealt accordingly. The peace of the country would not be compromised. That's the language they always speak. And at one point he said he called off the meeting that he was supposed to go and see the president off when he was supposed to travel to Havana. We appeal that we continue with the meeting so that we can find solution to the problem, but we could not convince him. The meeting was called off.
In fact, you are telling us here that seeing off the president at the airport trumped continued discussion and finding solution to this national security problem that was looming.
We thought that was what was needed at that moment.
Listen to the question carefully. What I am suggesting to you is that by their conduct, did you have a sense that for these security officers, seeing the president off at the airport was more important to them than sitting with the student leadership and finding a solution to a looming national crisis?
Exactly. That is how we also perceive that they saw this seeing the president off was more important to them than the looming crisis that we are confronted with.
How did you feel by that?
Very much disappointed again on the side of state authorities of such caliber.
Among those authorities present, did any one of them say anything to suggest that they were looking for a solution instead of imposing their own will on the students?
Not actually, but after the meeting, 13 Baji, Landing Baji, called us to his office. He expressed his disappointment, the manner in which his IGP handled the meeting and ended the meeting. He also shared the same opinion that we should have continued with the meeting, even whereas he will miss seeing the president off. But he did not express that at the meeting, maybe because of seniority, but in his office, he did so. Other than him, no other person.
So you're suggesting that all those present at the meeting did not say anything that was helpful to finding a solution to the problem?
Not at all.
After that meeting, were any other meetings planned?
Yes, that was on the 7th, when there was no room for dialogue, and the deadline was on the 7th. We met and decided, yes, now we are going to show our grievance by way of peaceful but limited demonstration. From GT3I to Sting Corner. At Sting Corner, the open field, that's where we'll be gathered. Express our grievance. We believe through that our message will be heard and taken seriously.
Did you consider the possibility of obtaining a permit for that demonstration?
Yes, we did, and we communicated that to the secretary, but she said she did so, but she did not find any officer at the police, or find somebody who said is a junior officer, but declined to receive the letter.
So you decided to proceed regardless?
She reported on the 9th. She reported on the 9th when we had our last meeting. I think before that last meeting, another event unfolded.
Well, we would take it, we would go on a short break, and when we resume, we will take it from there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Council. And thank you, Mr. Darboe, for your testimony. We will take a lunch break, 1 hour, and then come back at 2:30. Meeting is adjourned.